I don't, how do you intro a docu-series to 800,000 people?
I have no idea. Dude, I feel like you should just start this thing the way that you started Real News No Bullshit.
There's always two sides to every story. You can easily see this just by turning on the news and looking at it for yourself.
I think it's in everyone's. Don't speak to me like that.
If you take away all the rhetoric, the drama, and the bullshit, you'll realize it's right in front of you.
Wake up, Juan. You gotta wake up to this.
I started Real News No Bullshit because I was sick and tired of one-sided stories. Personally, I used to have to watch and compare the first 30 minutes of Fox News and CNN at prime time just to get a clear picture.
New court filings tonight in the Dominion versus Fox News lawsuit.
They're anarchists. The big thing they want is they want to really destabilize our country.
The reality is, there's always two sides to every story. It's in politics, catastrophes, religion, and even war. Look, we could do what all the other guys do and show you just one side.
Biased and
false news has become all too common on social media.
It would be easier, but that's not real journalism. That's bullshit.
And the agenda to control exactly what people think, and this is extremely dangerous to our democracy.
In this docuseries, you will hear from people on both sides who have lived, breathed, and bled the realities of this war. We've censored nothing. You're going to hear from people that will paint a different picture of this war. What they say you may or may not agree with. It could make you happy or mad, proud or sad. You might even be confused, and that's okay. We aren't here to pick up a paintbrush for you. We're just two guys with a passion for showing you as many shades to the story as possible. On February 24th, 2022, Russia invaded Ukraine. Both sides have provided different reasons as to why this war is happening. On one side, Ukrainians claim that Russians have been brainwashed and are hell-bent on destroying their way of life. Some Ukrainians have gone so far as to accuse Russia of committing genocide against their people. On the other side, Russians say they are actively reunifying stolen territories with their motherland and are trying to protect Russians who are being persecuted by what they claim are Ukrainian Nazis. Some Russians have gone so far as to accuse Ukrainians of committing genocide against their people. This is the war in Ukraine. It all started with a red-eye flight from Los Angeles to Cleveland, Ohio.
I mean, think about it, John. If you had to swap seats with that mom that wanted to sit next to her kid, we probably never would have met Roman Sheremetyev.
It's crazy. I mean, what are the odds that you swap seats with someone, find out the guy next to you follows your news page, is the head of an American university in Kim, and then encourages you to just jump on a plane and send it to Ukraine? You still have those texts, right?
Yeah, I still got it. Dude, I just remember you saying, dude, this guy for sure can get us into Ukraine. I thought you were crazy, but here we are. We did it.
For a while, both of us have been wanting to cover what's going on in Ukraine, but we didn't even know where to start. I mean, we're not decorated journalists, and how does one even go about entering a country that's an active war zone? Meeting Roman was the key we needed to pull it off.
And let's not lie, we were hesitant at first.
Bombs, drones, guns, fighting. Yeah, bro. Russia targeted 9 regions in a day. I remember telling my family, and they were concerned it was too good to be true. Do you remember how many phone calls we had with him prior to committing to this trip?
There were so many.
Not worth it. I'm just gonna tell him.
Let's hear him out.
It's too risky. Yeah. So listen, me and Gavin have been chatting about what you texted me. We're not like some professional war journalists, right? Yeah. And we can't forget about the conversations with our family too.
I don't know, what do you think about the whole situation?
You met this guy on the plane, you know?
Totally.
I don't know. I mean, maybe it's like working for what he's doing, but still you just like never know. Just because he's gone and done it a couple times safely does not mean it's going to be safe for you guys also.
And we ultimately said, we're doing this. We're going to Ukraine.
Actually, no joke.
No, it's not. It's no joke at all.
No, but like now it's like...
Yeah. If shit hits the fan, we go to the embassy. Cool, I'm with that. So that's kind of like worst case scenario, that's the plan, right? Because it's not like we don't need to get extracted out of the country necessarily. We just have to go into the embassy.
No. We need to be paying attention.
Anatoly, you are friends with our friend Roman, and you came here all the way from Norway to help us get from Warsaw down to Ukraine.
That's right. Just keep in mind that you cannot film any police.
Gotcha. And we are now at the border to Ukraine.
At least we're right at the border, and we didn't have to stand in line in the field for miles and
That's
miles.
nice. Have you had that happen before?
Yes, yes.
During the war.
Car cemetery. Alright, let's do this.
What is this?
Big Bible Church.
It's a church.
Yes. Baptist Church.
And your name is Roman?
Roman Emnitsky, yes.
Roman. And what do you do for the church?
I'm deacon in this church. This place is free for Russian soldiers, but maybe 500 meters is Russian soldiers around. Maybe translator is better. Me and my wife stay all time this and help some people. Before 10 March 22, it's many people. It's every day. It's come. Please help us, keep us, provide us. My wife is prepare food for kitchen.
Wow.
Every day.
How many people did you have here at the peak?
В самый пик сколько здесь людей было?
Ну, думаю, 500 было.
About 500 people.
Ну, потому что
He says that it's totally insanity what they are trying to say, because I'm Russian-speaking Ukrainian, and all of the people who were hiding here, they were also Russian-speaking people.
Чем украиномовных обижают.
And when people are saying that Russian-speaking people here were persecuted, that's totally insanity, because that's not true.
Нет, вы ничего не понимаете.
Our Ukrainian president, he has Jewish roots, and he's Ukrainian-speaking Jewish. And all the refugees in Germany who have Jewish roots and who were fleeing from Nazis, they're helping Ukrainians now they're in Europe. And Russians are saying that we are Nazis.
But she thinks it's bullshit.
Ну, конечно.
Of course.
Вы сами все увидите.
We will take a ride and you will see by yourself.
Возле Киева.
Irpin city, where we are, used to be one of the most fast development cities. And now it's about 70% destroyed. I can show you the street where the Russians were standing. This street was very dangerous because the cars could easily get shot. The right side was Ukrainian side, and behind the houses that was Russian troops territory. There are some disagreements, but who was that fault that the houses were damaged?
I show you.
It's a house of my friends. I personally knew the people. There were 3 people living in this house. Before there was no that metal fence, and the tank was standing right behind the fence. Now it looks everything clean here. There were some metal pieces from the tank that got stuck into the wall, but there were more metal details from tank. Now it's clean. There were a lot of Christian literature in the basement of this building,
And we saw how Russians were taking out Bibles and other Christian literature and just burning it outside. There was a family with 12 members of the family living in the house, and they were just evacuated to another country. About 25–30% of Ukrainian population left Ukraine.
How does this make him feel to see his town look like this?
Sad. I just realized that all of this is the consequences of their ambitions, pride, and money-loving. They have their own land that they cannot cope with. Why would they need other lands? I think that Ukraine is the most freedom country among post-Soviet countries. I've been talking in Russian all my life. Now I don't want to talk in Russian. I just don't want to. Now people are still dying here, but now they're dying for their own freedom. Oh, what do Russians die for?
Ask him, who does he blame? Does he blame the Russian government? Does he blame Putin? Does he blame the Russian people? Who is he mad at?
I blame the government and the key decision maker, Putin, because he took a responsibility on making this decision.
What does he want to see happen right now? Does he want to see Ukraine continue to fight? Does he want to see his president sit down with Putin and try to come to some sort of peace agreement? Like, where does he want to see this go?
There were many tries in the beginning of the war to sit at the table and talk and negotiate about the peace, and it was useless.
He's from here, right?
Вы из Ирпеня, правильно? I was born here.
Throughout this whole war, this is his hometown. It's clearly been decimated. How many people has he lost that he knows in this town?
Who I know personally, about 8 people. While I was evacuating my kids under the bridge, one of our church members died during the shootings. 3 people who are front line from our church has already died as well. They were letting others to go through the corridor, but they broke the agreements and they just shoot out all those who were passing through the corridor.
When he says shoot out, are they being shelled? Are they actually being shot?
Shot from guns.
So you're telling me that Russian soldiers are pulling out guns and shooting civilians. That's what he's saying.
Вы говорите, что русские солдаты с автоматов расстреливали мирных жителей, правильно?
And they're knowingly doing it.
И они это осознанно делали.
Конечно.
Of course.
Ну, едет машина гражданская.
Civilian car is coming.
И просто стреляют.
And they just shoot purposely in this car. I have pictures when there were a lot of dead bodies on the street.
Я лично знаю, вот в Гостомеле жил мой друг.
I know one person who was kept in captivity in a basement with tied hands, and they just shot his leg. We evacuated him to Kiev, and probably this man lost his leg. He was crying out, saying, for what, for what, for what?
What would he say to like Americans or people in other countries that haven't experienced war?
I would be happy for them that they never experienced it, and I would wish them never experience it in their lives. Now I'm telling you all about all these stories, and I cannot confess and believe myself that all of this happened before. Russians were brainwashed for 8 years, and they were told that small kids are crucified here. All of this our Russian brothers did with us. I have a brother who lives in Ulyanovsk in Russia. He's my cousin.
His family that's in Russia, what do they say to him?
They're adequate people. They understand everything. They're saying, what can we do? We just can pray about it.
Do they support the war?
Они поддерживают войну? They do not support war.
Someone might watch this and wonder, for them to hit civilian buildings like this, does he know if there were troops in there, or were they just hitting anything?
There were no military troops in the house. They were just shooting each other on the street, but there were no troops in the building.
So they were just indiscriminately shooting.
Yes. He was telling the differences between ground mines and flying mines. And one of the holes that you see in a building, that's flying mines. It's not tank, it's a machine that shoots explosive mines.
If these aren't military buildings, why were the Russians so intent on destroying these buildings?
Объясните американскому народу. Nobody can explain that. It's impossible to explain it. I am the same person as you are. If you do not understand why, then I do not understand why as well. We have a lot of different civilians, and the same with soldiers. Soldiers are, some of them village, some they educated, some of them are not educated. So you can see the consequences. 50 miles away from Irpin, the wife of my brother lives there. She was telling that one kind of category of people, Russian troops, came over into the village. And they were like acting themselves pretty good. They did not shot anybody. There were no battles. They were just standing. The first category of troops that entered the city, they understood that there are no masses, and when the Buryatians, other category of troops came over, they were asking all around where the NASA's, so they came over with different mindsets. We're going to the church. But we will never be the same brothers as we were. We can forgive them, but it's possible to forgive, but we will never be brothers anymore. And we had generator here, and we could afford to make tea and food. And people were hiding in a basement. I live with my wife here in this room.
What kind of church is this? Sorry.
Baptist church.
Это так оно не закончено, но мы здесь.
People live here and they were using this space as a bomb shelter.
Когда были русские, то здесь жили, прятались. Вот, здесь даже туалет у нас был, как бы, пока вода была. Здесь все везде были люди.
There's another space, and people were all around here. There were some periods of time when we didn't have any water in the city, and we used underground wells.
The Russian Orthodox Church claims that they're being persecuted or censored or not able to practice in Ukraine. And they're saying it's because of the Ukrainian government. Ukrainians are saying that the head of the Russian Orthodox Church is a former KGB agent, and they've been basically giving intelligence to the Russians.
Everything is done according to the law. Lavra, Ukrainian Lavra, where Russian Orthodox Church was located, they were renting this area and buildings for a long time. And this time, Ukrainian government did not let them to extend the contract for renting. Now Russia is in a war with Ukraine, and Russian Orthodox Church blesses Russian troops for killing Ukrainians. And I think that it's normal when Ukrainians say, hey, listen, you better go home.
Does he think Ukraine needs more guns and tanks and ammo, or does he think that Ukraine and Russia there needs to be more dialogue between the West, Ukraine, Russia?
It's more important to have more weapons. I do not believe that I can say something now in front of the camera and it might change something.
Потому что все уже сказано.
Because everything is said.
Let's just start with who you are.
Who I am?
Yeah.
That's a difficult question. Right now, we are in MAP office. I'm someone who is responsible for capital of Ukraine, heart of the country, mayor of Kyiv, Vitaly Klitschko.
not only are you the mayor, but your other background is you're a former professional boxer that's pretty legendary.
I'm a former athlete,
heavyweight champion.
More than 20 years I spent in boxing. I'm 6'7",
yeah,
you're 150 pounds,
yeah, you're a big guy.
Big and heavy.
How did you get from boxing into Ukrainian politics?
I never had a dream to be a politician, but listen, I spent a big part of my time outside of the country. I live in Germany long time. I was resident of California, in LA.
Oh, wow.
And lived a couple of years in Los Angeles. And always, if I come back to Ukraine and give me a question, so great countries, so great people, so many opportunities, so great potential. And we're talking about potential years long and nothing happens. And I like saying very much. And because saying is knowledge from generation. And one of them told us, if you want to do it well, do it by yourself. And one day I decide, let's do it by yourself. And slowly I come to politics, and right now I'm responsible for capital of Ukraine. It's a big responsibility because capital of Ukraine is example for another cities and other villages and whole country. Looking at Kiev.
And how many people live in Kiev?
Before the war, almost 4 million people. Kiev is the largest city in East Europe. Right now, half less because it's difficult. We have right now during the war, we have so many refugees, temporarily displaced people, so many citizens of our hometown right now in outside of Ukraine, but so many citizens of Ukraine moved to Kiev because Kiev better protect than another city, and we have full services in our hometown. We have best education, medical care. Kiev give a lot of opportunity to everyone, and that's why it's around 300,000 refugees from east and south of Ukraine right now in Kiev. Right now, total population in our hometown, we calculate exactly around 3.6 million people.
And what is the city doing to help the refugees that you guys have? I mean, what kind of services do you offer? Are you helping them with housing, jobs? Can you kind of go into that a little bit?
We're responsible for everything, and we understand from our help depend their lives. It's a big part of my job. I visiting to many regions of Ukraine, and just a couple of weeks ago I coming back. I pretty often east of Ukraine. You're driving hours long and see the city which destroyed the villages. It's no one building without damages and empty windows, and behind every windows, family somewhere else, replaced, no jobs, no future. And very important to help the people who come to us, and that's why our community give to every refugees the same services as our citizens of our hometown. If you make a registration, you give exactly the same medical support, privilege of public transportation, children, preschools, schools, and universities. Everything work for everyone.
You know, we're from America, and so we have Western media. Something that I feel like a lot of people thought is that Kiev currently is getting bombed still. That's just the impressions that we've had, right? As just normal people living in America. And, you know, we've came here and that's not the case. I mean, there's people walking outside. There's cars everywhere.
Listen, it's illusion. Right now you're in Kiev, blue sky, peaceful atmosphere. It's illusion.
Okay.
Just a year ago, the city was empty. Every street was blocked. Coffee, 24 hours. And we listen shooting, we listen explosion. The front line was not so far from here, just 10 miles from downtown, the border of our hometown. And it's actually we give so many energy to bring the peace back to our hometown. We never have front line in our hometown, but more than 800 buildings destroyed.
In your city?
In our city. 470 apartments building, 162 civilians, citizens of our hometown was killed.
Wow.
5 children. Bombing, missiles attack, kamikaze drones. Our responsibility to bring the peaceful atmosphere back, to make economy work again. Running is very important to be successful.
Yeah,
it's my responsibility to be successful, to make country successful. We have to be strong. We have to be strong economically, politically. We have to be strong in front line. Thank you for our soldiers, military forces. They defend us. Actually, behind this atmosphere, peaceful atmosphere, stay a lot of job. But nobody have a safety feeling. Every minute, and every second, the Russians missiles can attack every building in our hometown. It happens many times, couple of weeks, couple of months ago. That's why we give the instruction to every citizens, to every visitors of our hometown. It's illusion. We, the country and the city, in during the war, and that's why today the main priority safety for everyone in our hometown, and we also responsible for that.
How has your job changed since the war started?
Job totally changed. Actually, to be the mayor of city is a very peaceful job, but right now we're responsible for safety. We're responsible to give services also for military forces. We have to help to our army. We have to help to refugees. We do so many things. Actually, I never think, I never expect so many challenges I have in my life, especially in this job.
Right.
And last year it was like one long day, non-stop missiles attack. If you put all time together, our citizens spent in underground more than 1 month from the 12th. 1 month in last year our citizens spent in underground. It's a lot of jobs and a lot of responsibility, and people need help. Are you as a mayor responsible to pay attention to everyone? It's very important. We have to be prepared for the day after tomorrow. Our hometown have huge potential. We have to give the good ground opportunity for investment, because investment is very important for the city. It's not just the money, it's jobs, it's taxes for our budget. And that's why we do everything to prepare for the day after tomorrow. During the day, this war destroyed not just country, destroyed economy, destroyed logistics, destroyed infrastructure. We freezing everything. We can't develop it. We can't build new schools. We can't build new roads, and because all money what we have right now, the money to survive, first point, and the second point, to help our soldiers, because from them depend our lives and our future. More than 100,000 our citizens right now in the front line. 100,000 members of our hometown right now defend our homeland. They have to know his family protected. Their family is safety. As sportsmen, I have always never give up. It's very important to trust yourself. It's very important to trust your team. It's very important to trust your country and to do it as teamwork. I come from boxing, not the sport where you are alone. You alone stay in the ring, but behind you stay the team. A lot depend how professional your team, how good people around you. If you want to be the best, work with the best people. This winter was most heaviest winter ever. We doesn't have electricity.
Right.
We have blackout. You not understand. I'm also not understand what does mean blackout. I can explain you. Can you imagine? You wake up in the morning. It's cold to your apartment. The heating doesn't work. You try to switch on the electricity, no electricity. You go to the bedroom, no water. You take your cell phone and want to call to receive the information. Your cell phone doesn't work. No connection. Nothing. You're hungry. You go out to cafe restaurants, everything is closed. Are you hungry? You go to supermarket and they told, sorry, terminals doesn't work, you can't pay with your credit cards. Russians destroyed our critical infrastructure in this winter. It's the first time in our history our electric transportation, public transportation, our subway, trains, everything stopped for 2 months. We doesn't have electricity in our hometown. It was very difficult to give the services, water, electricity, services to everyone. I'm proud to be Ukrainian because I listened 1,000 times from our citizens. Better we live without water and electricity than we live with Russian soldier. The Russians try to bring depression to our hometown, to the people. Instead depression, all people angry and ready to fight and defend our hometown, defend our future, defend our children. Nobody is expecting the world. So long time we can successfully defend our homeland. All experts give to us a couple of days and maybe a couple of weeks because we're fighting against one of the strongest armies in the world. Right now, more than 1 year, we successfully defend our homeland. I have 1,000 stories how Ukrainians show his will to win. We're starting our discussion how big I am, how heavy I am. In sport, exactly in every battle, not important how strong are you and how big are you. Much more important, spirit and the will to win. And I tell you, we Ukrainians show the whole world our spirit.
President Putin, his defense ministry, other Russian officials, something that they've been pushing recently is that Ukraine is going after the Russian Orthodox Church. Specifically in Kiev, too, they're saying that they're being persecuted, quote unquote. I wanted to give you the opportunity to say, push back on that or say whatever you think. Apparently, they're not allowing them to renew like leases, so to say. I don't know if you could add anything to that or if you have any insight.
Media today is very important. Media sometimes is important than the weapons. And Russians deliver fake news. And that's why it's very important, true and objective information. Russians explain about Nazis, about fascists, nationalists, radicals who live here. We hating Russians. We make a pressure to the Russian population. Is bullshit, sorry. I am the best example for that. I am half Russian. Well, my mom is Russian. My mom live whole lives here in the city. He can't speak Ukrainian, speak Russian. Never ever have problems. Millions examples if Russian as nationality fighting against the Russians because we're fighting right now for the values. It's not the question about nationality. It's not the question about religion. It's not the question about skin color. It's the question right now about values. I have a couple of messages. To your audience. Some people in the United States think the war far away. Doesn't touch me personally. It's not my business, it's not my deal, it's big mistake. This war touched every Ukrainian, millions of refugees. This war already touched millions and millions of people in Europe. And this war can touch everyone in our planet. Please don't forget, Ukraine have 5 nuclear plants. One of the largest in Europe, in Zaporizhzhia, was actually in the front line. Couple of months was in the fire. If explosion will be, it will be much bigger tragedy than Chernobyl catastrophe. In this case, this war, the Russian war, can touch everyone in our planet. Thinking the war doesn't touch me is the biggest mistake. We have to do it everything what we can to stop this senseless war. I am actually from Soviet Union. I born in Soviet Union. I have very interesting background. My father was military officer of Air Forces
in Russia.
In Russia. Was communist. I grew up with the idea you Americans are our enemy. I am prepared, my father prepared myself, prepared me, and I was ready to fight the Americans because I have huge impact from Russian propaganda. I remember this every day. I come from outside of my house. It was huge big board, with some soldier with a wolf head, with bloody hands, with the weapons, and American soldier want to kill you. And I growing up with the idea we're ready to fight against Americans. I have a chance as sportsman to traveling to the United States. I was really surprised. I coming back to my father and tell, sorry, is everything what we listen about the United States is bullshit. It's peaceful countries, we live very friendly people. It's everything what we listen is not true, it's liar. We have to give true and objective information to the people. So we Ukrainians always was peaceful nations. More than 70 nations live in Ukraine. It's not a question about nationality, religion, and skin color. It's a question about values and love to the country. I have a lot of friends in Russia.
You do?
Yeah, I talk to them. I'm very surprised. They zombed is me. They have huge impact from propaganda. The time coming when Russian population give the question to Putin, the Russian government. Sorry, for which reason world company left Russia? For which reason the Iron Curtain coming back? For which reason we Russians can travel around the world? We're not anymore welcome in the world. And main question they definitely give to Putin and Russia. Which reason? Died my son, my husband, my brother? Which reason? I have 1,000 stories. It's very emotional. It's one of the emotional stories, very emotional. It was first, second week of the war. I was responsible for evacuation. It was main train station. Main train station Kyiv was breaking full with people, thousand people. Was small corner where was a children corner, playground, small playground, and one boy around 5 years old crying, asking about mom and dad. And I come to him, try to give him good mood, give five, how you doing? He was really upset, crying non-stop. And I tell him, don't worry, the mom very soon coming back. And the woman behind me coming to me and tell me, where in my ear, this, listen, we don't know how we tell to the boy some information. We don't know how we do that. Parents has died. It was very difficult emotion. It was difficult in this moment because this impact to the child, impact for millions of people is big tragedy for many people. I was also have many stories where I tell I'm proud to be Ukrainian. If I see how many people, some people, women and children evacuated the first week in the war from Ukraine, and I visiting some civil defense point where we give the weapons. You have to make application, give you pass, and you will be part of civil defense, receive the uniform and weapons. And snowing, windy, freezing cold, miles long line, men and women stay and wait to take the weapons. They decide to stay in Kyiv. We prepare for street fights in our hometown. I tell I'm proud to be Ukrainian. The second or first week of the war, as I was here, we received information Russian rackets destroyed the apartment building. I go there, I see huge hole in apartment in the building. Is the man coming to me and tell, listen, Mayor, you look in this hole. This was my apartment. Thanks God, just a couple of minutes before I go away, the God saved my life. What I have to do right now, I'm homeless. I give him a proposal to evacuate him to another part of the country. They told, no, I don't want to leave my city. I spent all my life, I leave my friends, my relatives, and please give me fire, please. Oh, what do you need? The man was around 60, 65. There, I need a weapon. They was angry, they was ready to fight. The next stories, it was the last checkpoints. I see 3 boys with uniform, but I see they is not professionals because uniform was brand new and was size bigger. The 3 boys, pretty young, they stay there, and I asked them, who are you? Civil defense, Mr. Mayor. Who are in normal life? One of them was theater actor, another was a musician, third one was doctor. Peaceful profession, they never expect to take the weapons in hands, but in this case they stay, and they asked me, I was shocked, not to save them. They told, 1 kilometer away from here Russian tanks. We need heavy weapons. Can you give to us heavy weapons? They was ready to die, ready to fight. I have thousands of examples, thousands of stories, but I'm more than sure we win this war. Very simple explanation, because many journalists ask me, why are you so sure you're fighting against the strongest army in the world? The rule of the war. Russians paid well for soldier. Are you ready to die for the money? How much? It's a question about your family. It's a question about your children. Future of your children. Are you ready to die? The answer is clear. Without support of United States, it will be very difficult, and we need your help. We're fighting and defending not just our families. We're defending every one of you, and I hope everyone understands that.
Yeah, I don't know. We'll mull it over a little bit more, but it's on the table. It wouldn't be tomorrow either way. The opportunity for Kharkiv is a connect through the Instagram, who reached out to us and was like, I'm a Ukrainian volunteer, blah, blah, whatever. He's like, I'll hook you guys up with military protection if you don't feel safe. And
how would you be getting there and back?
Well, see, that's the other thing. They tried to reassure us and be like, we have armored vehicles you guys can go in. But then I'm like, well, now we look like military targets. You know what I mean? We've been working like 15 to 17 hour days. Like literally we've been all day, every hour of the day, jam-packed, and then we get home and upload all the footage and edit until 2 a.m. Like, there hasn't been time really, but...
Another good reason not to go where it's too sketchy. You're not at the top of your game when you're exhausted. It's a bad idea.
No, I know.
They just kidnapped a journalist. No, did they kill him? They killed the journalist just a week ago or 2 weeks ago.